right, guys, let's come and sit down. Let's gather around. Last call for Coke and coffee, alcohol. Is there any alcohol here? I think there is some in the cabinet over there. All right, come on, have a seat. I can tell my wife's much better at this than me. I said you're much better at
I am.
All right, so as we're getting settled, just some announcements. I see some new faces here, so if you don't know, a lot of us go to dinner afterwards. We actually walk right across the street over here to Joey's Pizzeria. They actually stay open late just for us, so they got pizza, sandwiches, tea, milk, beer, whatever you're into. We always call that the meeting after the meeting. That's where we break bread together and have those deeper conversations because you're sitting across from each other and you can't get away from each other, right? So again, you can leave your cars parked here and we can literally walk across the street over here. Okay, guys, well, thank you for coming to OKC Entrepreneur Group. Thank you for making the sacrifice to be here. I know there's a lot of other things going on and you chose to hang out with us, so thank you. You know, my dad always says you never know who you're going to meet or what idea is going to change your life from small to big just because you showed up. And you just never know who's going to hear a big change your life. One little idea to one big one. So we have a small enough group today so we can actually do introductions. So I'll start. I'm a former IT guru turned real estate investor and coach and mentor, which is my ultimate passion. We've got our hands in the coaching business, real estate business, and also we own a real estate brokerage for realtors. Two different mindsets from investors to agents. So if you're anywhere between there and you're interested in that, we're good at that. So, Amy.
I'm Amy Turner. I'm married to Brandon Turner. He's the entrepreneur, and I'm a hopeful future entrepreneur. We own a business called proceduresheets.com, and I am heading up the sales department. Nice to be here. Thank you, Ron.
Hi guys, as Amy said, I'm Brandon Turner, Amy's husband. I own proceduresheets.com. We write operating procedures for your business. And I've been a member of the group for, I think it's going on 8 or 9 years now. But it's nice to see everybody. Hopefully get a chance to meet everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Marlene White, and I have a consulting firm called the Raw Group, where I help people with personal and professional development and get into strategies to manage your day, you know, all those things that we don't want to do. They get it right, you can get it right, stuff like that. Glad to be here.
My name is Alfreda Benford. I am the owner and co-founder of Looked Up Kids, and what we do is we provide transportation door to door, strictly for children ages 5 to 17.
I'm Jamie Crone. I have a Pilates personal training studio in Cascade Square.
I'm Nicole Giuliano, and I'm parallel entrepreneur, not serial, parallel. Multiple companies at once, mostly doing real estate investing, and I'm a realtor now with Spearhead Realty.
Hi, I'm Les Swoop. I'm a finance consultant and do some side gigs in sales and video.
My name is Cindy P. Clay, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'd like to meet all of you. Thank you.
My name is Ray Clay. I work at Dell doing technical support, and I'm her technical support part.
Hello, my name is Rosie, and I'm an assistant real estate, and I would love to go into wholesale.
Investor side.
Wholesale
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything like that.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica. I'm a real estate entrepreneur, and I'm also owner of Let's Go Tanning. It's a mobile spray tanning company. I come to you in your home or your business, and I love networking and traveling.
Hi everyone, my name is Yusuf Sheridan. This is my first ever meetup, so I'm kind of excited about that. And I did some entrepreneurial things in college, some competitions, and did well. And I realized I really enjoy it, so I've since started a fintech company, and we're in our early stages right now. So
What kind of company?
a fintech.
What's a fintech?
Financial.
Oh, finance. Okay.
Sorry.
Same word.
I am Rupert. I'm a public adjuster, so if you have fire, weather, health plans, any of that stuff, any insurance questions, I can get that. I'm also a realtor for Sheridan Ave.
That's Zoe.
Zoe. She's preoccupied. She's being a kid.
Future entrepreneur. Future entrepreneur. Zachary Rupert in the back. Doreen Rupert, his wife. Realtor with Spoonhead Realty, and his go-to do whatever he asks me to do.
My name is Leslie Anho. I've been barber for 20 years. I own my own salon for 8, and I'm trying to get out of that line of work. And I've recently become a realtor with Kigo Properties,
Okay.
and I'm starting move in, move out cleaning service.
Good. Glad to hear.
Flag.
My name is Ethan, and I own a social media advertising firm. We do a couple other things related to that. I also do some marketing consulting, and then of course a couple other startups. Glad to be here.
I'm Rockford Steele. I am a real estate agent and investor, agent with Spearhead Realty, and I've been investing in real estate for, 4.5 years now. We mostly rental property. If you're a wholesaler and have deals, I'll buy them. Right now, we actually have 5 acres for sale. If anybody has, knows somebody that needs to buy 5 acres.
You might be a talk to me.
Yep. Athena.
Okay.
We get a referral fee for making this connection, right?
Of course you do. She knows too.
I'm Stephen Douglas. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I've been there. Actually flew in just to meet you guys. So I'm actually an entrepreneur for 3 years. I have my own development agency, 100 developers strong. We've grown to investing in 10 companies in Phoenix Valley.
Hi, I'm Drew Ramsey. I'm an entrepreneur. I've got a few various iPhone app companies and looking to get into real estate as well.
Henry Dyer, own a barber shop, and I've got a couple of side gigs with art stuff.
It's a game, real estate investor, wholesaler, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. Student of Ron and Angelina, so
Anything that you can get our hands on.
anything.
It's not the one thing.
I know it's not.
And you mean legally get your hands on, right? Legally. All right. Clarify that. I didn't teach you the other side.
And I'm Sheridan, and we do real estate and do property stores.
I'm Russell, and like she said, we have 3 flooring stores here in Oklahoma City, and then we also do real estate. We also do lending to real estate investors. We have commercial real estate. If anybody's looking to expand their business, we have several vacancies, warehouses. We have some retail, and then real estate investors. We do lending, hard lending, half lending, or short or long term. I'll go up to 15 years.
I'm Angelina Harris. I'm Ron's wife, and I also co-host this event. I'm the broker owner of the Spirit Realty Group. I also manage all our properties, and I'm a real estate company on the investment side. Did you do your show? I think so. Moving out of order.
I'm Jerry Captain. I'm a new home consultant, land consultant for people that want to build custom homes from 100,000 to 150,000 up to about 1.5 million. We strictly build on people's land. All customers. We sell them and build them.
Again, we get a referral cut, right? Is that how it works? Okay, so OKC Entrepreneur Group presents Embracing Technology to Grow Your Sales with Athena Captain. The making of a rainmaker, the story, building of the systems, execution of the system, and the winning results. Here Athena tells her story of how her company changed to stay relevant in the ever-changing building industry, how she had to personally make a decision to willingly become the rainmaker of the company while developing a new sales process. Athena is the vice president of sales at Turner & Sons Homes, where her passions unite with her clients, navigating the journey of building on their land, custom crafting each home to meet their budget, and helping lead sales leads sales teams within the retail industry, banking industry, and finally using her talent within the construction industry. She's also active within her community as a board member of the Oklahoma Family Network. She's also on the leadership team of Savannah Station Equine. Did I say that right?
Therapy program, yeah. Got it.
Say it again.
Equine therapy.
Equine therapy program. I've never heard that. You have to tell us what that is. And serves on the board of the OKPSA, Oklahoma Professional Sales Association. Everyone, welcome, Athena Captain.
Where do I put it? Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. So I will start with what an equine therapy program is, just so you know. So Jerry and I have a daughter who has multiple disabilities, and her passion in life is riding a horse. And so Jerry and I have felt like this community in Oklahoma, since we've lived here for 9 years, has embraced what we say are differently abled. And so we felt like we needed to give back. So 3 years ago, he and I started a nonprofit called Savannah Station after our daughter Savannah, and it's the equine therapy program for children with special needs. And the horses help the children get from a wheelchair to actually be able to move. Sometimes the only time the parents get to hear their children even say a word is on a horse. So it's that is something that we love to do and is a passion of ours. But that's the side thing. Just like all of you, there's not just one thing going on, right? So again, thank you so much for having me. Jerry and I had the privilege 6 years ago to start working with Turner & Son Homes. Now we are actually business partners with them. It's fun when you make yourself so valuable that they have to make you a business partner because they can't lose you. That's fun, right? But let me just tell you why I'm even here. So 6.5 years ago, I found myself traveling extensively, internationally, for the career that I was doing at that time. And having a Savannah, that doesn't work. Getting a phone call when you're traveling that your daughter's on the way to the hospital could no longer work for my life. So I told a friend of mine, I said, look, I have to find a new career, something local. And he got me in contact with the owner of Turner & Son Homes. Tim wasn't looking to hire anyone, but he had a vision. His family had been building homes since 1964 in this area, and they were building homes like we think of it. A builder builds it, and then a realtor sells it, and that's how that works. But Tim had a vision that he wanted to build what we call scattered sites, custom-built homes, where the client owns the land or the lot, and we come in and we build the home. But he didn't know how to get there. Now, he knew on the production side, the building side, how to do that. He had no concept how to do that on the sales marketing side. So after a conversation with he and I, he said, I will make a position for you if you will figure out how to take us from here to here. And I don't know how to tell you how to do it. And there's no sense for us to make a marketing budget for it because guess what? We don't know who we're marketing to, right? So you have no marketing budget. I have no one to help you tell you how to do it. I have no idea how to do it. But by the way, you figure it out. So I took the challenge. I like a challenge. I thought, this can't be that hard. We can do that. I will say, side note, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my freaking life. And I gained 80 pounds. I lost hair. I literally was physically sick. And it's the hardest thing I've ever accomplished. Now we're on the opposite side of that, and so I'll tell you about that journey. But I'm so thankful we did it. And so the first thing we had to do is figure out, how do we even go from where I can sustain the company on referrals only to this new market? Who the heck is the new market? Who are they? So I hired a coach. First thing I've always learned is you can't do it by yourself, right? So I hired a coach. And I'm going to be honest with you. My coach didn't know how to do it. My coach had a lot of things that they added value to me. They taught me a lot of things, nuggets that were essential. But I remember walking out of my coach's office one day, and it hit me. He doesn't know. And I remember sitting in my car bawling because I had 10 people, with the lowest paid person being $55,000 a year, all dependent on me figuring this out. Not only that, but I had recruited Jerry into this madness, and so our entire family's budget was dependent on me figuring this out. And if you've not met anybody with a child with disabilities, they're expensive. So failure for me was not an option. I was not going to go home and tell my little girl, I'm sorry, mom can't do it, because she can't find somebody to tell her how to do it. So I had a really long, good cry, and I decided, I still went to the coach because there was other pieces of the coaching that I found valuable. But I realized then that one thing isn't going to make everything work. You have to get cumulative knowledge. So I went out and I found different podcasts, different books to read, etc. And I started to read all of these resources and then look at what we had and decide what part of these can I start applying to create this. Then I thought, okay, how am I going to find those clients? What does that look like? So I created, and Ron, I will send you the link for these forms. I created a form. I thought, well, you got to know what it looks like before you can find it, right? That's just duh. So I created a form, and I said, I need to know who these people are. Well, we had only done 4 scattered sites before ever in our history, okay? So I made my little questionnaire, and people ask me something. I do teach a 2-hour CE class on this, and on just the target marketing thing. People ask me, well, did you just give them the form? What do you guys think? No, okay? I didn't give them the form. I had a conversation with them. So I had a conversation with the 4 that we had, and I called them and I asked for help. In the last 6 years, if I've learned anything, it's to ask for help. Humility is the cornerstone for growth, right? So confidence and humility, by the way, go hand in hand. Arrogance and pride go hand in hand. And so I was like, okay. So I called them and I just said, we loved working with you so much. We want more clients like you. Can you answer some questions? I want to learn about you. And they were happy to. Well, I realized 4 wasn't going to be enough. So I said, do you have friends that are like you? They're like, yes. I said, well, could you answer this questionnaire as if your friend was answering it? Because I need to learn about y'all. Sure thing, right? Well, one of the things that really stuck out in my little questionnaire is the demographics, what you wear, what you drive, how old you are, that stuff's easy, right? But that wasn't the magic. The magic is when I started asking what I call the psychological questions. What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are your fears? What's stopping you from doing it? Those things. So when I did that, I found, finally, a thread. I found that they all, no matter how old, young, what they did for a living or whatever, they wanted freedom. I'm like, huh. They wanted freedom that a builder wouldn't make them pick from a set of plans. They wanted to build it however they wanted to build it. It's their money. They wanted a builder not to have an ego about the house. They wanted the builder to make it about them. And they wanted the freedom to live where they wanted to live without HOAs or somebody else telling them who and what and when and how. Okay. You guys, had I not asked those questions, I would have never known that, right? I mean, ever. But from that, I said, okay, who likes freedom? Right? But who will build a house that likes freedom? And you know what? I was like, homeschool families. Homeschool families don't want the state telling them how to raise their children. They want to raise them how they want. And they want to do it their way. So, sure enough, guess what? Homeschool families is where I went. I don't know anything about homeschool families. I would never jeopardize my daughter's education by trying to educate her. That would be atrocious for her, and we'd kill each other. But, however, what I did is I knew I could go after them. Now, I get asked this all the time. Well, how did you get business anyway? Well, here's the reality. We all know business organically will come to you. If you've been in business for a long time, it's going to organically come to you. We still have organic business coming. But I'm going to tell you something that's true. So, in my last careers, I flew on private planes, flew all over the world, had the corner office, had all the titles behind my name, everything you're supposed to do getting out of college, right? I gave all that up to do this entrepreneurial thing. I so would like to go back there and tell them, you don't know how easy you got it, by the way, all right? This is so easy, so easy. I wish I could, I'm like, that was so easy. I thought it was hard, it was not hard. But one thing to keep us afloat while I was figuring this out were these corrugated bandit signs that we put on telephone poles out in the country. So I went from flying all over private jets to personal assistants to a gun nail, boots, and chiggers and ticks nailing these things up every Friday morning. Because it's what I had to do to get the phone to ring to keep us sustained. Hated it. I tell you what, the last time when we finally had success, I got to tell you, that last box of those, I was so happy to never do those again. Ever, ever, ever. But they worked for a time. But, God, that was awful. Anyway, so as I'm going over through the homeschool thing, I'm like, well, how do I do that? How do I find them? So I started asking everybody I knew that knew homeschool people and started just getting in, and I do what I call belly to belly. Got face to face with homeschool families. I found out what was their pain, their problems, their frustrations, and started having relationships with those people. I'm not a social media person. I always tell people, talk to somebody else about that, but I know how to use it to prospect. I don't know how to use it to get the most likes and all that. But I went in, and then I found all these people that I knew that were homeschool families, and you know how everybody's on private groups? Well, I got invited to their private groups, right? And after I did that, what I did is they would post things they needed, right? And so as they posted things they needed, I would make a list of the stuff they needed, so then I had that stuff in my tool belt, and I would offer them help with this, that, and the other thing. And pretty soon people are like, who are you? Because what I didn't do is I never said, look at me, I'm Sandra D, it's all about me. I never, ever promoted myself. I just was constantly giving, offering, hey, this, that, the other thing. And so then people started IMing me and saying, who are you and why are you so interested in helping our group? And then the referrals started to come. Now, it took 3 years into my 6 years to get to that point, by the way. And so 3 years ago, I started focusing on the homeschool families. And today, I will tell you, I'm the only builder that's allowed a booth at the homeschool convention. And I had these, because I like hats, my fellow hat girl, and I had these little hard hats at the homeschool convention that said Turner and Son Homes everywhere. Right? And we created classes for homeschool families to come out and have hands-on on our job sites. Okay? So we changed our business model to accommodate what the needs were for a target market, and we went after it. Now, those of you who are in real estate in here, I get paid 3% on the transactions like y'all, okay? Well, this year, we'll have done probably 10 homeschool families. Now, even if the average house was $250, what's Jerry? 250 times 10? Huh? Times 3%. What's 3% of that?
A lot of money.
What is it? Help me out.
75 grand.
Okay. Had I not gone of that, that's $75,000 my bank account would have been less. 75. Now, I am telling you, last week, we just did a pour for a $1.6 million house homeschool family. Do the math on that one. Woo! Mommy's getting some new shoes. So, here's the issue. Had I not done that, we wouldn't be getting that business. Now, I also started to learn that NRA members, military, police officers, they like freedom. So I went after them. So we were doing the same technique, the exact same approach to go after those target markets. So first I had to figure out who the target market was. And so number one thing is realize you can't do it on your own and get help. 2 is then who's my target market and how I'm going to go after them. Now, the other thing is it's not good enough just to know what your target market is. I meet with a lot of realtors because realtors, by the way, are my number 1 referral target market. Okay? So what I learned in this is I have 2 target markets, my end user and my referrals, right? And my referral partners are actually more important than my end users, okay? Because they keep it coming. So I had to do the exact same thing I did to learn about the homeschool families, to learn about realtors. And my top 5 best referral partners, number 1 are our clients. We get more client referrals than anything. Second, that convert, that actually are conversion. Second is realtors. Third are lenders. And fourth are our trades, okay? But I had to learn who that was. And then I had to learn, just like the target market, how do we add value back, right? So how do we add value back to our realtor partners, our lender partners, our trade partners? And that took additional questioning. So I had to have intimate conversations with them. They're like, what is important to you as a realtor? Why would you want to do business with us? And I created another sheet. And I found out what was important to them. We changed our business because of those questionnaires. One of the number 1 things that realtors wanted, they wanted to get paid faster. So how easy was that? We started paying at slab. So when we do the slab, they get paid. Easy peasy, but they loved it, right? So it was going after that market and understanding that. So now I understood I've got referral partners, promoters, connectors, and then I have the end user, and then I have to go out. And by the way, you know that Facebook thing where I went to the homeschool phase? I do the same thing with the realtor pages. I'm on like 8 of them. And I'll post on there things where I'm offering help. Again, I don't promote self. I will tell you, for the realtors in the room, your private groups are the best. You guys bitch more than anyone. So it's so easy to know what you're frustrated about. I'm like, if everybody just did that, that would be really easy. I wouldn't have to ask any questions. But it's easy then for me to offer help, right? And then, so I really do need to do a screenshot of this so people know I'm not lying. So in one of them, it's OKC professionals, real estate professionals, if you're not part of that group. But I'm in this group, and again, I've never promoted myself. And somebody says, I need a builder for building on land. Boom, the comments start coming. 7 realtors said my name. No other builder got more than 1 comment. And I've never promoted myself. I just was helpful. I was where they were, and I made it about them, and I offered help. That's it. So who got that deal, by the way? I did. We built the house. So that was the strategy. But I had to understand that. Okay, in my corporate America world, somebody fed me leads and I made a call. I didn't have to know who to go talk to, right? So now I understood. And we could create our business around that. For those of you who are doing social media and marketing, you think that'd be helpful to know if you're going to do my social media for me, who we're talking to, right? Well, we didn't know. Now we do. So now we've changed it. But so that was the other thing, is really understanding that. And then finding ways, creative ways to continuing to add value back throughout that entire process. Then the next step was, I realized I talk to a lot of people and they can tell me who their target market is. But then I'll say, so what are you doing today to prospect? What's your prospecting plan? And you know what I get? Deer in headlights. What's that? I'm like, okay, that is your problem. If anybody in here does not know what a prospecting plan, talk to Ron. Ron, I know you know what one is. So I'm telling you, so I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, so what I had to do is I had to figure out, I'm the rainmaker for our company. The only thing I do, other than also help manage the company, is make sure every referral comes in. All the referrals, everything is speaking the language it needs to speak and that the referrals are coming in. Okay, we still don't have a marketing budget and we'll never market. We don't have to. And what I had proven behaviors that I knew if I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. So it took me some time, but I created 12 different behaviors that if I do them, then the referrals will come. Now I realized, I started out with a weak one and thought I was the bomb because at least I had one. Then I realized it really takes a month. So I have a monthly prospecting plan. I can tell you for a month how many behaviors I need to do, and I keep it really simple. I literally have a checkbox that says I did it. A checkbox, you guys. Because a box is a yes or no. It's not a well, but no story. No excuses, no explanations. Get it done, or don't say that you know how to rain make. Don't fool yourself. If you're not doing the right behaviors every single day and you don't know what they are, you're not going to get the results. And I take it really serious because when I come in that door every day at work, if I'm in the office, everybody in that office is dependent on me doing those right behaviors every day for their careers, right? If I don't do it, then Jerry, who's our closer, I don't even meet with clients anymore because we have so many referrals. So Jerry meets with the clients and he's the closer. We have a design team, we have supervisors, everybody has a role. I have an assistant again, praise God. And all of that happens, none of them have a job if I'm not doing the prospecting behaviors, right? So that was key. My last careers, I didn't have that, I had to create it. I do a lot of tracking, a lot of journaling, figuring it out. And I still pay for coaching and training, sales training, mentoring. I still do that. I will never not. Then the next thing I realized after that was accountability. I'm an extremely driven woman, extremely driven. Yet I do not possess, nor do I think anybody possesses the ability to be disciplined enough to do everything right every day, okay? So again, I went back to the humility piece and said, I need accountability. I need people knowing where I want to go and help them help me be the person I want to be. And what does that look like? So today in my life, I have, I was telling the workout girl over there, I've finally, that 80 pounds, I finally lost 35 and I'm making my way down. But I have a fitness accountability coach. I'm writing a book right now called The Making of a Rainmaker. I'm dyslexic. You would never read something that I wrote. So I have a writing coach and she's writing it. I'm giving her what to say and she's writing it. I have a writing coach who keeps me accountable to getting her the information she needs to write my book. I have my business coach, and I have a mentor, and I have a weekly accountability person. You said you were with Kivo? Brandon Baca is my weekly accountability partner. Yeah, I love that guy. So he is. So I realized for me to do what I wanted to do with this company, I had to have this team, this posse of people rooting me on and holding my feet to the fire to make sure that I was executing at the absolute best I could. So that's how that worked. That's still. Now I stand before you today and I didn't read this in a book. This afternoon I was doing what I'm telling you. My prospecting plan was out. Wednesday morning I had my accountability call with Brandon. All of that is still true. Now what's different? We have been executing this plan now for 3 years. Last year, so 6 years ago, is when we were a production builder and wanted to go on land. Last December, we sold our last production home. I finally got the company to a point to where I had enough referrals, we no longer needed to do that for cash flow. And we were able, in January, to basically, you guys understand business, it was like a startup. I don't care if we were in business since 1964. This was a startup. This was all brand new. So, and I remember my business partner, Tim, and Jerry sitting in a meeting, and they're like, are you ready? Really? Because everybody's money's on the line, right? And I'm like, I got it. I got this. So we started out, and we have, obviously, now, this year, last year we were fine. This year we're doing fine. But the biggest thing is, as you guys know, the execution of this plan and building these referral and the follow-up systems and all of the things. So the prospecting, there's follow-up, right? The fortunes and the follow-up, so you got to have that too. But in the execution of all of that, January of last year, we were getting about 3 referrals to 4 a quarter. Okay? Custom home builder, that's not bad, right? But it wasn't where I wanted to be. As of this month, for the last 5 months in a row, we average about 20. We actually have a 500% growth over last quarter for the referrals for this quarter. 500. So much so that we are so busy, I no longer meet with clients. And I am telling you, I'm just getting started. There's so much more out there. Because I am the marketing face. There is still no marketing budget. And so that is tremendous. As of June this year, we already outsold all of last year. That is enormous success. But it takes that system and me consistently reevaluating it, rechecking myself, and figuring out what am I going to do? How am I going to take us to the next level? My goal is to get us to 30 a month. I told other people this in my industry, and they told me I was crazy. Well, watch me. Because there's just, I can apply this, right? It's a cookie cutter thing, right? So I can just keep applying it as long as I continue to execute it. And so that's what we're going to do. And we will get there. And so I like to tell this story because I've got to tell you, when I started 6.5 years ago, I talked to other people who were VPs of large building companies, and I was told, you're smoking crack, you'll never do this is insane, this can't work, all of that. I was told all kinds of things. I literally almost bankrupted the company twice. That's a true story. There were a time where the owner and Jerry and I couldn't pay ourselves. We paid our staff, but we couldn't pay ourselves. But we knew we lived off our savings for a little bit, but we knew we were going to get there. We knew how we can get there. We just knew it was going to hurt a little bit in order to do it. But we did it. And I'm so thankful we did it. And anyway, so really, just to recap, first and foremost, get help, right? Second, find your target market, figure out who that is. Third, understand your target market is your referral partners and your end user. Get a prospecting plan, know what your daily behaviors are supposed to be. Those of you, some of you know I have a prospecting, a Facebook prospecting thing where I list prospecting tips because it's so important that you know to do the right behaviors, that you have an accountability, and in the end of it, that you're constantly tracking all of those behaviors and reevaluating. If you do that, you won't fail at all. So, any questions? Yeah.
Do you normally do speak? My first time getting a chance to get a pleasure of hearing. Do you normally do speaking, and do you normally teach other entrepreneurs some of what you've done? Like the different speaking engagements or anything like that?
Honestly, yes. So I started doing, this is probably my last unpaid speaking engagement. This last year I've been paid, I'm starting to be paid to speak. So I'm doing that, especially when my book comes out. Well, I'll for sure. But on the coaching part of it, yes, Jerry and I and my business partner are starting, it's Inspire You. And so we are starting a mentoring coaching and it's really towards the prospecting piece of that, which is really the specialty for me, the rainmaking part of it, how that whole system worked. So yes, sir. Yeah. And I've been doing it for free, but somebody told me I had to stop. Yeah. My husband and my business partner both said, none of that. And so I don't, you know what's funny? I don't like to negotiate, huh, honey? I grew up really poor. I mean, dirt poor. I don't have a college education. And negotiating makes me feel like I'm poor. Well, my husband has no problem with that. So I don't like, making people pay for it. So I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So my business partner, my husband, has taken over. Did you? I hate it.
Even though I was paying my mentor lots of money.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I went, it's so funny. I went to, one of my main mentors is Darren Hardy. I paid $9,000 for 2 days. No, I didn't think of anything of it. But I'm like, no. But anyway, so Jerry's, yes, so yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
I always say the money, it's not about the money just makes it serious.
Yes, and I think that is the truth. And my business partners they have coached me through that piece too. I'm a giving, for me, because frankly, I can have these talks and I do these talks. The likelihood, now I think maybe the percentage would be higher in this room, but in most cases, maybe 1% will take what you're doing, because guess what, it's hard work. I mean, these people that think it's easy, or they just look, they look at my fancy cars, my house, and all that now. I'm like, a couple of years ago, I was going to my husband saying, I'm not getting it, and can we live off our savings, because I don't know how we're going to make it, right? A year later, he bought me a Mercedes-Benz. Huge difference. But you guys all know that's the way it is sometimes. It's not, it's a hard road. But any other questions? No?
What's the name of your Facebook group? I'm sorry.
Athena's Prospecting Secrets. Yep. And it's just stuff that you've really, like today, I posted one that was about don't have Gaston syndrome. You guys can all, I call that R&D, rip off and duplicate that. Okay, Gaston syndrome is when you're meeting with somebody and they sit down and they're like, let me tell you how awesome I am. I'm like, oh my God, my products and services can do all this for you. I'm like, well, how do you know? Because you haven't even let me talk yet. Whoa! So I call that Gaston syndrome. Please steal that. I couldn't believe it. Poor guy. I'm like, and he literally said, I'm the best networker there is.
No.
He did. Gaston, I'm telling you. And the whole time he's talking, I'm just hearing, the bar scene that's all I'm thinking in my head. He lost me at that. I'm just like, anyway, Disney's going on in my head the whole time he's talking. I will not be using him. It is. So I put stuff like on there, just, hey, just remind, and for me, it's making sure you have your prospecting plan. If you don't have that you're planning to fail if you don't have that. But, yeah.
To your point about how creating a prospecting plan is hard work,
Mm-hmm.
while entrepreneurs may not heed your advice once you give it to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long-winded question, so I'll try to be brief. We have a good friend of ours who's a client of ours, and we're a client of his, and he's had trouble getting the prospects in his market to bite, to convert, mainly because they know they have a need for it, but when it's time to actually commit to it, they won't make the commitment. At some point, we all have to
right.
make the jump and put it in. How often are you concerned about the entrepreneurs who won't do it, even if you're handing them the answer, but are you concerned about the entrepreneurs who won't do it, or do you, in general, do you advise that you just move on from them? Because, these are people that you could help, and you have the answer that they might be asking for, but do you find that it's better to just move on and focus on the people that want it?
Part of having a target market, and I'll send them to Ron, part of the very bottom of my target market is my preferred client profile. Because what I learned is in the early days, I had to take whatever I could get, right? Because when you're hungry, you're hungry. And so you do what you got to do. As you have success, you can define what the better client looks like, okay? When you do that, what it does is allows you the freedom to what I call bless and release, the ones that are a drain on your energy, okay? Huh? Bless and release. And so we keep a lot, we do a lot of tracking. My business partner's an engineer. And so we do a lot of tracking to figure out what is that perfect client look like. Because what we learned is in the early days when we had to take what we could get, is it was such forcing people to want to like you or forcing people to the finish line is such an exhaustion to your capabilities, emotionally, creatively, just time in general. It drains your business.
So are you suggesting that we need to treat it, you should treat it like a process, like in your early days, if you are in your early days, you still need to take what you can get, or can you jump to the preferred?
You guys can answer that. I had to go through the rough stuff because I just had to eat. You know, I'm sorry, but I had to eat. So we as a team took some stuff that today we would not take. And we just jotted down and started figuring out what did that perfect look like. And then put that back on my prospecting plan and how to even find those people. So you're gonna have to take it as this is how I viewed it. And the whole team did it because our supervisors, they were stuck with the people for the 6-7 months we're building their house, and they're like, I wish you'd have blessed and released that one, you know? So we just took that as an education to write things. And then what we decided is we all have to build internal systems, right? What we did is we took those people that we would have blessed and released now, and we built our systems to how we could have pleased those people. And we used it as an education. So our systems are all based on the grouchiest people we've ever had, right? And so we used it as an education. And so that's what we did with it. We made lemonade out of lemons is what we did. And then when we got bigger, Jerry literally will be like, we're not building for these people. He's like, we're not doing it.
Just as they are interviewing us,
Yeah.
we're interviewing them as well.
Yeah, and I've got to believe, Ron, you've got to do that with clients, with students.
I'm very patient with a lot of our students.
Uh-huh.
But most of them weed themselves out whenever
Yeah.
we go through the process. I'm
Yeah.
interviewing them. They don't know it, but I use how to influence people on them
Yeah.
a lot. So.
Yeah. I can tell you, does anybody in here know DISC personality traits? Okay, I'm a DIC. So I have no tolerance for inactivity. Like I literally, when I say no excuses, no explanations, I freaking mean it. Like I have every reason, and the people tell me I don't have time. I'm like, I'm a mom to a child that doesn't walk or talk and is still in diapers at 12 and a half years old. I run a multi-million-dollar company that's dependent on what I do every day to sustain itself. I help run a nonprofit. I'm on 2 boards of something else. And by the way, I work out now because I'm trying to lose all this weight. Wrong tree. Don't tell me. If you want it, you can make it happen. You just don't want it, right? Period. So I'm the wrong tree, right? Sorry, I get all fired up.
That's good.
That's true.
I have a comment and a question.
Yeah.
DISC. Cole,
Yeah.
right here, she teaches DISC. She's done
Oh.
it several times. Really good. It goes to deeper values and everything. So
Ah.
Yeah, so resource right there.
See, you and I were meant to be friends. I know, I'm telling you. So I love DISC. I use DISC. We use DISC. We literally have it in our CRM that we rate the client's DISCs so that we know how to cartel that's why, by the way, I am not a good chameleon. You know the Taking Flight book? Yeah, I'm not a good chameleon. Jerry is. So he can adapt his DISC to reflect other people's DISCs. I'm not so good at that. So
you make your clients take DISC? Or you
No. We in talking with them, we can say they're an S, C, D just by identifying, and that way Jerry will curtail his communication with them, and the whole staff will.
It's
Right.
just about watching their behaviors.
Yep.
You can
Yep.
discern that
Yep.
just by looking at their behaviors.
Right. Like for a really good example, we have a gentleman who's a software engineer for Chesapeake. You think we're going to build his house the same way we're going to build somebody who's an art teacher? No. Right? So we have to know that going in, right? So that we can adapt our processes to make it about them. When I say make it about them, I'm not standing up here trying to say a catchphrase. I mean it. So that engineer, he gets a weekly, him and the supervisor walkthrough of his house with details that all of us would poke our eyes out. But that's what he wants. And it makes him happy, right? And so now he's referring his friends who are also engineers.
And they gotta work with it.
Yeah, but that's okay, we know how to, right? We're like, okay, so, but any other questions?
The other question is, when you find that customer you don't want today, how do you let them go, bless them, let them go? How do you do that?
Jerry actually does most of the blessing and we're letting go now. But really, if you're sitting there engaging with a client, the number one reason that somebody won't work well with us is because they want to, the way we do business is we plan everything up front on the house. So when we're building your house, we're building it. We're not picking out the colors and the cabinets and stuff throughout the build. Okay, we don't do that. Jerry will get an idea if the client's going to be very high maintenance, and he will literally say, I get the feeling that you may want to make changes throughout the process. And they'll be like, well, yeah, we may not be the best fit for that. But I know somebody who would be. And we give them a referral to somebody who would fit better for that. Okay, I mean, so it's very kind, but it's making them say what we already know out loud. Or people who come in and they're like, because we do allow the client to do some projects and stuff on the house to kind of help us out. Some people like to do those things. But if they start asking too much, then Jerry may ask them, I get the feeling if you could do this on your own, you would. That's not a good fit for us. They're not going to value us. They're going to think they could do it. He'll push them to a different builder who will allow them to do more and do all that. It's just questioning. So you do that, and then you're like, you know what, I want to help you, and I just don't think we're a good fit, but I think this other person would be a fit. And then they think you're a hero and super kind. And Jerry's just like, phew, dodge that bullet, you know. Jerry's like, yep, but anyway. Any other questions? Well, it's up to my book coach. She'll be in January. Yeah, so yes, it should go to the publicists and stuff by January. So we're really excited about that. So the whole book is the making of a rainmaker. It's this whole journey. Might as well put it into writing, and then we'll see what happens. So.
And when is by use?
January.
You don't have to go into detail, but you talk a little bit about your journey where you basically have to create something out of nothing that no one's done before, no one had advice about. People can give you nuggets and pieces of information, but no one's done it before, no one's blazed the trail before, nobody can give you advice on it, nobody can. How did you, you're the second person I've met that's had a story like that, because another friend of mine, he created an entire department of a company. I mean, how did you know that, okay, I'm going to need outside resources? How did you know, okay, I'm going to need help here? How did you know when did it happen that you knew, okay, we need to create a form for this and maybe record? How did you, because, I mean, all of us as entrepreneurs, there was some catalyst in our life where we realized, okay, I'm going to need something else. I got to do something different because I'm trying to get some change.
That is probably one of the best questions I've been asked in all my speaking. So I appreciate you asking that because you're making me think. And it has to be, so 2 careers ago, I was a regional manager for HSBC, which is the largest bank in the world, and I was a finance manager for them. They hired me as a branch manager. HSBC doesn't do that. I'm the only person in the United States of America they've hired as a branch manager. And they did it because they had a branch that was awful and nobody wanted it. And so it's not because I was all that, it was because nobody wanted it, and I was stupid enough to take it. And so that's the truth. And so I took that job. When I took that role, brand new industry, I had no idea what I was doing. They only promote within. The branch was failing. The assistant, I was having an affair with the old branch manager. I mean, it's just I'd cuss in here, but it was a show, you know? And so when I started that, it was in Oregon, and I was the only female. There was a bunch of men, no offense men, but I remember I went in, my boss introduced me to all the other branch managers, and they were a high-performing team. He left the room, and all the guys Brian George, still my friend, they got quiet, and he said, "You will fail. we will make sure you fail. And then somebody else said, we will not help you. You do not belong here. I won't tell you what I said next because it's not clean. And then I was so determined to prove them wrong. I went to my little branch and I decided, I'm not on an island. This is a national company. So there's 12 points that we were graded on. I called the number 1 and number 2 throughout the United States on all 12 points, and I said, you don't know me, but I can tell that you have extreme success. Do you mind me asking what you do to do it? And I did it to number 1 and number 2 for all 12 things, and I wrote it down, and I analyzed it, and then I worked harder than anybody, and I won Team of the Year. So I realized then that if I couldn't do, they were right, but I sought help. And I exceeded expectation.
An entrepreneur needs someone to tell you that you will fail.
Yeah.
You will fight that first.
Yeah. And my best friend of 30 years will tell you, like, see if I can even say it without, she'll laugh and she's like, you want to see Athena get mad? Tell her she can't do anything. Can't do it. And she's like, then she gets mad. She goes, but you really want to piss her off? Tell her somebody else can do it, but you can't do it. And then I'm like, whoa. I'm like, watch. So that was it. So honestly, after that experience, I don't think, even this one, even though I was crying in the car and stuff, I knew if I could do that, I can do this. It's building the faith muscle in oneself, right? Entrepreneurship is about failing and building that muscle so that when we're having that day where we're rejected, we're failing, we feel like, what are we doing, all of that, that you can pull back that muscle and say, I've been there, done that, I got this. This sucks, but I got this. And you're building those muscles of faith in self. And then you just keep doing it. So, anyway. Thank you, Ron, for having me.
A couple of questions real quick.
Yeah.
Before you get your book out, what book would you recommend for personal growth, and what book would you recommend for business something?
Okay, so I only read business books. I'm nerdy. So the books that really have made a huge impact for me, number 1 book is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. But and by the way, don't be assholes. Right? Right? People who ask for advice and read it and then don't do anything with it. All right? It's only good if you apply it. Right? Compound effect. If you apply it, your world will change. That's why I like it. For business, especially in entrepreneurial people, 7 Levels of Communication is another excellent one. Again, I don't think any one book has the magic pill, right? Like, trust me, if I could take a diet pill and be a size 6, I would. It doesn't exist. So those are 2 that have made a really big impact. And I have to say one more that it's a simple read. But it's about taking ownership for your actions, and it's called The Question Behind the Question. When I hear people give me excuses, I make them read that book. Because it basically is, if you don't like it, it's your own fault, right? It's about taking ownership for things so that you can get past it. And unfortunately, and maybe in your coaching, I'm finding more and more it's their fault. You know, that it's their fault, or they did this to me, or everybody needs to read The Question Behind the Question if they say that kind of stuff. I think the whole new generation needs to have that, but anyway. Yes, anything else, Ron?
Any more questions, anybody?
Nope.
I wanted to ask about your team.
Yeah.
How did you build that team, and how did you keep them?
That's a great question. First, the number 1 thing we did as we started to grow, we built, guess what, an avatar for the perfect people who would be on our team. And we did not hire from skill. Okay? We hired for habits and attitudes. You can train people to do anything. You cannot train somebody to have good habits.
Going with that, what are your company's core values?
Our number 1 is you take ownership. That's the number 1 thing. Each one of us, like, we don't have vacation time, we don't have sick time. Every single person in your role, you own your role. You help make all the business decisions based on your role, and you have 100% capacity to do that. And we do not micro freaking manage you. Like, you're an adult. We're all adults here, right? And so it's ownership. They have to take ownership. And then we are a function as a team. If I do not do my job, Jerry will fail. Every single one of us, we function as a team like a basketball team, and each one of us has to perform, right? And we all have our roles. So that's it. We go back to your question, how we keep them. We keep them because we, first of all, hired correctly, and two, because like our clients, our staff likes freedom. We want the freedom to make choices, freedoms to make mistakes, freedoms to advance and grow, and the ability to not be micromanaged. Like, for example, my assistant in 1 month took 3 weeks off because he had all this stuff going on. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. And he did what he needed to do before he left, and he did what he needed to do in between the weeks, and he got it done, and his job is taking, he's did what he needed to do. It's funny when you give people the ability to not be micromanaged. What a difference it can be. Major difference. People think we're crazy. They're like, what do you mean you don't make them clock in and out, and they don't have vacation time and whatever. They think we're crazy, but it works really well. It's more like a whole bunch of entrepreneurial people. Yes, sir?
What's your method for finding those teammates, those people? How do you go about actually finding those people?
Great question. Just like I do my prospects. We built an avatar. We knew what we were looking for, and it's like the slug bug effect. When you know it, you'll see it. Then we put out there to our network that this is what we're looking for.
Explain an avatar for those who may not know.
Okay, an avatar is a picture of who is your ideal client or ideal referral partner or ideal employee. So what do they look like? What in attitudinally, like what does that look like? We actually, we have literally 7 different things that we're looking for, and we write it out and what we're looking for. And so then we take the questions to make sure that those questions identify if those 7 things are there or not. If they're not, then we don't. I will tell you, our last 3 employees have come from me people call me and they want to work for me. So they call me and say, I want to work for you. And then, okay. And we see if they still have to go through that process. It's not just a given. And so by being out and about, and people know. You also start to get a word that you're a good place to work, and so people start to call you and want to come work for you. So that's it. There's another question back here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this more is general type question.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to deal with your team in height?
In what?
Height. I'm not sure about your industry, but in our industry, there's a lot of height. Oh, height. Yes, height. Okay. Where there's someone very excited about something and encouraging everybody to do something because this is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Oh, uh-huh.
And it doesn't happen.
I honestly, with our team, there's none of that. Yeah, we don't, that's not something that Jerry, am I wrong on that? Yeah, we don't, I gotta tell you, I'm the most exciting, theatrical person in the whole company. Everybody else is, they literally built me an office away from everybody, and it's the largest because I'm so loud. Everybody we work with is really level-headed, very level-headed. And my business partner is the most cynical and he's just, Tim Turner. He's super cynical. He's not gonna believe it until he sees it. There is no giving that man hype. None. He would just be like, shut up. If you can't prove it, don't say it. He just has no room for that. So we don't get to get that way. I get excited about stuff, but he just is we've gotten to the point now, I used to, every time we signed a contract, I send out an email to everybody, get all excited. None of that happens anymore. Because Tim's like, of course we are, that's what we do. He's like, of course you got more referrals. It's what you do. Where's 30?
I will say, I think it's a common thing in entrepreneurial where
Yeah.
they have that hype in index. And
Yeah.
Like you were saying, you send out an contract,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you get let down.
Yeah.
That's a common theme. And,
Yeah.
And you have to have someone like you're describing to ground you,
Yeah.
and you, and say,
Yeah.
this is what you do.
Well, then I'm going to tell him that I appreciate him because I often tell him he's a buzzkill. I'm like, you're a buzzkill. And he just won't. There's none of that. There's no what if, nothing. It has to be factual or by golly, you better not even bring it up. So anyway, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been awesome. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we have how many more time we have left, Angelina? I never know. I think I know this, but huh? 15 minutes or so, and we can continue to network and mingle, and then we'll go. Those who want to join us for pizza and beer, and tea, and coffee, right across the street, Joey's Pizzeria. We can literally walk over there. Leave your cars parked here; they're safe. They open late just for us. They take good care of us. So. Thank you for coming out, and we'll see you, I believe it's the 4th Thursday of next month. Is it a holiday or anything? Nope. Other than that, we'll see you next month. Look. All right, cool, thanks.
Good job.